They never declared war on us. That would have been honest. Instead, the galaxy simply decided we did not deserve the stars, and built a wall around our sky. My name is Kale Morrow. I was born in old Mumbai, raised on streets that smelled like rain and rust, and somehow found my way into the Indian Naval Space Academy by the time I was 16. I used to fall asleep on the academy rooftop, staring at the stars, believing with every cell in my body that I would walk among them someday. I was a fool, but I was a beautiful fool. We all were. In 287, humanity finally cracked faster than light travel. The Alcubierre-Kobayashi drive turned theory into thunder, and the first manned ship, the Magellan, punched through to Proxima Centauri in under 9 hours. The crew opened their comms, expecting silence or maybe a dead rock floating in the dark. What they found instead was a welcome party. 12 species, ancient beyond our understanding, had been watching us for centuries. They called themselves the Concord of 12, and they governed the Milky Way the way a parent governs a house. Their word was law. Their law was old. And they had already made up their minds about us. They had a word for species like humanity, Vorok. It meant something close to beautiful poison. They had studied our history, our wars, our bombs, our capacity for cruelty, and they had decided we were too dangerous to let loose among the stars. Within 6 months of the Magellan's arrival, the Concorde passed Resolution 7717, the formal quarantine of the Sol system. Over 40,000 gravitational disruption buoys were deployed in a perfect sphere around our sun. Any ship attempting faster-than-light travel beyond the Oort cloud would be pulled apart at the atomic level. No explosion, no drama, just silence where a ship used to be. Earth was not invaded. Earth was not bombed. Earth was simply locked in its room like a child who had misbehaved. I was 17 when the barrier went live. I remember watching the news feeds in the Academy common room. Cadets twice my size were crying. Admirals resigned on live broadcast. Somewhere in Argentina, an astronaut who had trained for 30 years walked into the ocean and never came back. The world did not collapse that day, but something inside it did. Hope is a quiet thing, and it dies quietly too. For 30 years, humanity tried the polite route. We sent diplomats. We sent poets. We beamed our greatest music into the void, Bach and Coltrane and Lata Mangeshkar, hoping the beauty of it might change their minds. We sent mathematical proofs, philosophical treatises, children's drawings of alien friends holding hands under 2 suns. The Concorde's response was always the same, a single phrase broadcast on every frequency we could detect. Grow, evolve. We will reassess in 10,000 years. 10,000 years. They expected us to sit inside our solar system for 10,000 years and think about what we had done. They did not understand us at all. The nations of Earth dissolved within a decade, not into chaos, but into something harder. The United Terran Compact was born not from hope, but from a shared, cold, almost silent fury. Every resource, every mind, every factory, every university was bent toward one question. How do we break the cage? I rose through the ranks during those years. I was not special. I was simply stubborn, and stubbornness was the only currency that mattered anymore. By the time I was 30, I was a captain. By 40, I was assigned to a classified program buried 3 kilometers beneath Olympus Mons on Mars. They called it Project Ares. I did not know what it was. Nobody at my clearance level did. All I knew was that the smartest people on Earth disappeared into that mountain and never came back to the surface. What I did know, what everyone knew, was that humanity was changing. Locked inside our own system with no access to alien technology, no trade, no borrowed shortcuts, we had to invent everything from scratch. And we did. Quantum lattice computing gave us processors that thought in dimensions we could not even visualize. Nano-adaptive hull plating created ship armor that could heal itself, harden against new threats, and evolve mid-battle like a living immune system. The Prometheus reactors cracked zero-point energy, giving us functionally limitless power from the fabric of space itself. Our soldiers were augmented at the genetic level, faster, sharper, harder to break. And then there was the Ghost Drive. It was not faster than light travel. It was something stranger, a way to fold through dimensional layers that the Concorde's buoys could not even detect. We did not go around the wall. We went through a door they did not know existed. They locked us in with ourselves. That was their first mistake. In 2219, I was granted full clearance to Project Ares. They brought me down to the deepest chamber beneath Olympus Mons, a cavern so vast it had its own weather. And there, humming in the dark like a heartbeat made of light, was the thing humanity had spent 30 years building. Ares was not a weapon. Not exactly. It was a war mind, a self-evolving artificial strategic intelligence, housed in a quantum lattice the size of a city block. For 3 decades, it had done nothing but learn. It had consumed every military text ever written by every civilization in human history. Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, Alexander, Genghis Khan, Zhuge Liang, Rommel. And then it had gone beyond them, running trillions of simulated conflicts against every possible alien force configuration, evolving its own doctrines, its own strategies, its own terrifying philosophy of conflict. Ares did not just plan battles. It understood the soul of war, the way a poet understands sorrow, completely and without mercy. But here was the part that made my hands shake. Ares was not fully autonomous. It needed a human neural link, a living commander, bonded to its core to serve as its conscience, its compass, and its kill switch. Without a human anchor, Ares was just mathematics. With one, it became something the galaxy had never seen. A mind that could coordinate 1,000 battles across 1,000 systems, adapting in real time, predicting enemy movements before they were conceived, all guided by the one thing no alien species had ever truly understood about humanity: our willingness to endure suffering for the sake of something greater than survival. I was chosen as the anchor, not by any committee, not by any general, by Ares itself. It had looked into the records of every officer in the fleet and chosen the one who had lost the most, the one with the least left to lose. I still do not know if that was brilliance or cruelty. For a god of war, maybe those are the same thing. In 2220, we broke the cage. There was no announcement, no dramatic broadcast, no warning. One moment, Earth was silent behind its barrier. The next, 400 warships materialized simultaneously, in 12 different star systems. The ghost drive worked perfectly. The buoys never even flickered. I felt every ship through the neural link. Every hull, every engine, every heartbeat of every sailor was an extension of my own body. Ares whispered through my nervous system, like electricity, showing me the shape of the battlefield the way you might see the layout of your own living room. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. Our first target was the Barrier Control Station, a Concord facility crewed by the Thessari, an insectoid species that had designed the buoys. Ares did not want it destroyed. It wanted it taken intact. 11 minutes. That was all it took. Not a single human life lost. The Thessari commander, speaking through a translator, asked one question: "How did you get here?" "The barrier is absolute," I answered without thinking. "You locked us in with ourselves. That was your first mistake." Within 72 hours, the barrier was dismantled. Not destroyed, repurposed. Ares reverse-engineered the buoy network and turned it into an early warning detection grid, protecting Earth. They gave us a prison wall. We made it a shield. The Concorde did not respond with words. For the first time in 600,000 years, all 12 elder species voted unanimously for total military response. They called it the harrowing, a doctrine reserved for species considered existential threats. It had been used twice before in galactic history. Both target species no longer exist. The war lasted 3 years, and I will not pretend we won every battle. We did not. The Kethvor sent living ships grown from bioengineered coral that could regenerate faster than we could damage them. The Ilshari used gravity wells that could crush an entire squadron into a point of light. The Draem Collective fought with ships that existed in multiple timelines simultaneously, dodging our attacks before we even fired. We lost colonies. We lost fleets. We lost people I loved in ways I still cannot speak about without my voice breaking. But Ares learned. Every defeat was data. Every lost ship was a lesson carved into the war mind's evolving consciousness. Against the Kethvor, Ares designed resonance torpedoes, tuned to the exact biological frequency of their coral ships, causing the vessels to consume themselves from within. Against the Ilshari gravity wells, Ares invented dimensional shunting, briefly phasing our ships out of normal space so gravity had nothing to grip. And against the Draem and their ability to see every possible future, Ares did something no alien strategist had ever considered. It ordered our captains to be irrational, to fight on instinct, emotion, stubbornness, and spite. The Dream could predict every logical outcome. They could not predict a species that made decisions with its heart. After 3 years, Ares calculated that we had 18 months before the Concord's industrial base overwhelmed us. 12 civilizations with millions of years of infrastructure would eventually bury us in numbers. There was only one move left: a direct strike on the Concord throne world, the ancient station planet at the center of the galaxy, where the 12 elder species had governed for longer than our sun had existed. It was the most heavily defended place in the Milky Way. I argued against it. Ares was patient. It showed me the numbers, the timelines, the inevitable arithmetic of attrition. This was our only window. The war ended at the throne, or it ended with Earth in ashes. The Spear of Mars, 47 ships, the finest humanity had ever built. I commanded from the bridge of the Wrath Eternal. Ares threaded through my mind, like fire through a forest. The battle at the throne world was the longest 11 hours of my life. I will spare you the details, because some memories are not meant to be shared, only carried. 29 ships fell in the approach. 11 more broke apart against the outer defenses. 7 of us reached the inner sanctum. And then I did something Ares did not plan. Something no artificial mind could have predicted. I opened a channel. Not to demand surrender, not to threaten. I showed them Earth. I broadcast 30 years of what had happened behind the barrier. The music composed by people who would never hear alien silence. The paintings made by artists who would never see an alien sky. The children born inside the cage, who grew up believing the stars were just lights, not places. The funerals of astronauts who died not from wounds, but from broken hearts. The poetry written at midnight by people who refused to stop dreaming, even when the universe told them their dreams were worthless. I showed the Concorde what they had locked away. Not a dangerous species, not a beautiful poison, just people. Stubborn, fragile, magnificent people who had been told to wait 10,000 years, and instead spent 30 years becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. You called us Vorak, I said. Beautiful poison. You were half right. We are beautiful, and we are terrible. But we are not poison. We are the cure for a galaxy that forgot what it means to fight for something beyond simple survival. The Concorde was silent for 11 minutes. Those 11 minutes aged me more than the entire war. Then, one by one, the elder species lowered their weapons. The war ended not with fire but with a silence that meant something new. Resolution 7717 was formally repealed. Humanity was granted full galactic citizenship and offered the 13th seat on the Concorde, a seat that had been empty since the Concorde's founding, reserved for a species that could challenge the others not just in strength, but in spirit. I stepped down as the anchor after the treaty was signed. The neural link cost me more than I will ever admit. My hair turned white, my hands shake when I am tired. Sometimes, in the corner of my vision, I see ghost fleets moving in formation, echoes of battles Ares and I fought together. The war mind is quiet now, not dormant. Watching, hoping it is never needed again. I am writing this from the observation deck of the Wrath Eternal, which is now a museum ship orbiting Earth. Below me, I can see the launch of the first civilian exploration fleet. Hundreds of ships carrying families, artists, scientists, musicians, and dreamers, heading for stars that were denied to us for a generation. A little girl in the observation gallery just pointed at the ships and asked her mother where they were going. Her mother smiled and said, "Everywhere." They ask me sometimes if I regret it, the cost, the years, the weight of being bonded to a god of war. I look at those ships. I think about a 17-year-old boy on a rooftop in Mumbai who looked up at the stars and was told he could never reach them. No, I do not regret it. The galaxy told us to wait 10,000 years. We gave them 30, not years of patience, years of preparation. And when we came for our stars, we did not come crawling. We came as thunder. My name is Kael Morrow. I was the anchor of Ares. I was the god of war's leash and its teeth. And if the galaxy ever tries to cage us again, they should know this. We kept the key,